Time for a few fart jokes. Where would a comedy show be without a few fart jokes? That doesn't smell too horrifying. In fact, in an odd way, it's rather pleasant. I think they ought to enjoy the rest of this baby.
Alright, people, I have seen Kung Fu Panda 4 and I wanted to do a mini review and also breakdown of the movie. Spoilers, if you care about such things, or if you haven't seen the movie, go watch it, then come back to this video because I'm going to be getting into specifics, explaining why this movie, in my opinion, it's a great movie, but it is the weakest of the 4 films. For some people, that might not be a shock. For some people who have watched the film and they were like, man, that was great. Yeah, maybe they even thought that this is better than 3. Me, I think this is the weakest of the 4, but I think it's a really great film. Let's start with the positives. Stunning visuals. Stunning visuals. There are many places you'll just watch and be like, wow, that looks really good. Fight scenes, really good. Especially there's this one fight scene, probably if you've watched the film. There's this one fight scene where Poe is in a cage and then he breaks by going underground and then he starts fighting with some wolves. And the way it's shot with like silhouettes, beautiful. There's even a part where Poe fights with this Fox character voiced by Aquafina. Beautiful. There's like this part where they fight and there's lightning. Beautiful stuff. Good fights, good visuals. Poe's dads, especially Poe's panda dad, hilarious. There are things that they do with him in the movie. Funny stuff. Funny stuff. And this movie, you can tell it walks a line between trying to be a bit serious for adults, but also maintaining a lot of cartoonish elements, especially with these rabbits. You saw them in the trailer. It's very much a movie that adults can enjoy, but also kids can enjoy. Also, I would say, Jack Black still has it. Poe is still a very strong character, and Jack Black still voices him very well. It's like even though there's a very huge gap between Kung Fu Panda 3 and 4, Jack Black still delivers Poe magnificently. But now to my breakdown of why I believe this movie is the weakest of the 4. And I have 5 reasons why this is the weakest of the 4. Number 1, character dynamics and character feedback. So you may or may not know, but the Furious 5 are not in this movie. So I know there's someone who's going to watch this review and be like, another reviewer complaining that the Furious 5 are not going to be there. I know when the trailer released, there was a lot of buzz going around that the Furious 5 would not be in the movie. So let me explain to you why the Furious 5 are important. You see, the Furious 5 are already established characters. They're already established in the first movie. They were not coming new to the scene with Poe. They were already there. Yeah. So you remember in the first movie when they tried training Poe and then Poe is just terrible. Yeah. Master Shifu said to train Poe, and if he doesn't give up quickly, I will have failed you guys, when he was talking to the Furious 5. And then Poe tries to train and he's terrible, and then the Furious 5 are just talking shit about him behind his back. And they were like, I don't know what Ugo was thinking when he picked him. You remember that scene in Kung Fu Panda 1? The reason why you need the Furious 5 there is because Furious 5 would give you feedback about Poe and you would learn about Poe through their eyes. The way to make Poe an underdog in the first film is if you had other characters bad-mouthing him. And they couldn't just be random characters, they had to be characters that you care about. But now in this movie, there's no Furious 5. We get this Fox character by Aquafina, and her whole shtick is that she's looking out for herself. She's a thief in the movie, so she's mostly looking out for herself. So most of the time when she's talking, it's never really about in relation to how she sees Poe. It's more about her, what she's been up to, how she became a thief, and her whole arc. In fact, the Fox character has more of an arc than even Poe has an arc in this movie. So I feel like because of the lack of character feedback, we don't get to have Poe grow in our eyes through the characters. Does that make sense? You need characters around the main character to build the main character. You get my point? Number 2 is the pacing. The pacing of this movie is great for kids, but I think for adults it might be a bit a bit too much in my eyes, because between minute zero and from minute zero to minute 40, I didn't check the watch. I only checked the watch, I think, around minute 40. And that's because I think maybe the pace slowed down. For the first 40 minutes, the pace is really fast. This isn't a problem if you have a short attention span because of TikTok. But for us who appreciate, a bit of fast pace, then slow, then fast pace, then slow, then fast pace, then slow, the second movie did this really well. Kung Fu Panda 2. That's why Kung Fu Panda 2 is such a good sequel, because it did this really well. It knew how to did do action, then slow down for character arc, then action, then slow down for character arc, then action, then slow down for character arc. But this one is just go, 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 go. I think it only slows down after like 40 minutes. If you love a lot of fast-paced action, I think you might really enjoy this one. But at some point for me, it became so much. I felt like I was watching Transformers. Remember in Transformers where everything is just exploding and boom and boom and people are falling and yeah. I know some people will be like, that's not an issue for me, but for me it was. I feel like I appreciate sometimes when a movie slows down a bit to flesh out characters and then picks back up instead of just being da 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 da. So Kung Fu Panda 2 did this really well. It did pacing really well. It knew how to slow down and pick up really well. Number 3 has to be, to me, Kung Fu Panda 4 has the weakest villain. This chameleon villain is one of the most, in my opinion, generic villains ever. This villain, the chameleon, feels like a Courage the Cowardly Dog type villain. There's an episode of Courage the Cowardly Dog where I think suddenly all the villains he has ever fought show back up in the series. That's how it feels. It feels like, you remember Scrappy Doo from Scooby Doo? Yeah, because of how small the chameleon is, doesn't look intimidating. Viola Davis voicing the character is pretty solid in my eyes. Of course, because I know who Viola Davis is, when I looked at the character, I could just hear Viola Davis. But at some point, Viola Davis's voice and the character became one, and I could believe, yeah, this is the chameleon. But I prefer the first 3 villains very easily. The movie felt like I was watching a greatest hits album. Like when you listen to an album and it's all the greatest hits of your favorite rock band, that's the way it felt. It felt like it's just appealing to me on a surface level, but it has no real depth. This might not be a problem if you're just looking for an entertaining film, but if you're looking for a movie with new innovative ideas, this might disappoint you. Number 4 has to be a lack of internal journey. So I watched Kung Fu Panda 2 and 3 before I went to watch Kung Fu Panda 4. Kung Fu Panda 2 is about fear. Lord Shen tried to avoid being defeated by the warrior of black and white, so he went and murdered all the pandas. And then Po was also like fearful that his parents would. There's a part where he has a dream about him being replaced by a radish by his parents. And then Kung Fu Panda 3 is about like learning to become yourself, and like Po learns how to. There's a part where he says, I'm going to teach you how to become you, something like that. So it's more about like accepting yourself and growing into yourself. But this movie doesn't have that type of internal journey. The movie starts with Poe being awesome and it ends with him being more awesome. So the journey is more of a physical journey, but there's no emotional character growth journey. Number 5, and my last issue with this movie, is that there are just way too many jokes. I get that it's a kids movie and it also, as I said, is part cartoon, but there are just way too many jokes. 70% of them land, in my opinion, but 30% of them, especially there's this one joke where the chameleon is waiting for the blood moon to rise. And then, I think it's meant to be like that joke from Kung Fu Panda 2, where in Kung Fu Panda 2, where Po is about to face Lord Shen, and then he's so far, so you can't hear him as he's yelling from the rooftop. But they try to do the same thing here in Kung Fu Panda 4 with the chameleon waiting for the blood moon to rise, and he's like, why is the blood moon rising so slowly? Like the delivery was not well executed. In my cinema, it was a bit of like a cricket moment. But I feel like there were just way too many jokes. Some of them landed really well, some of them did not. And to me, that's what makes this movie the weakest in the franchise. It's not a bad movie. It's very enjoyable. I think I would give it, if I was lenient, I'd give this movie a 7.5. Yeah, or maybe even an 8 if I was very lenient. It's a fun time. But I think in terms of writing, compared to other films, it's quite weak. But those are just my thoughts. What are yours? If you've watched the movie, make sure to comment below, smash like and subscribe. Tell me what you think. And then, yeah, recently I had the unfortunate experience of watching Megamind, both the series and the movie. So I'll leave those reviews here, and I'll see you in the next one.